Hey everyone, so I'm Richard Ma, CEO and founder of Quantstamp. So it's one of the largest Web3 security companies, and it's a pretty short talk, so wanted to talk a little bit about hacks. So yeah, a little bit about Quantstamp. So as of last year, we're now a $1 billion company, one of the largest security companies in the space, backed by many of the leading VCs. And we basically do security for almost every type of company that's in the Web3 space, whether it's exchanges, DeFi protocols, games, and even companies like Visa and PayPal. So the reason why we started Quantstamp was because even before Ethereum took off, there were a lot of hacks in the cryptocurrency space. And actually some of the largest hacks happened in Asia, and that included the Mt. Gox hack, which is still taking its time to resolve itself even after all these years, as well as like the 400 million CoinCheck hack, which happened in Japan many years back. And one of the first hacks that happened in the smart contract space was the DAO hack in 2016. It was the first project that I invested in. It was sort of before these big conferences, and people had a lot of hopes for the project. And a couple weeks after people invested, all the funds were lost because there was a bug in the code. And so after that incident, I decided that there needed to be companies that helped with security and made sure anybody that wanted to start a new company could do it in a really safe way. And when we started the company, there were very few companies to do security audit for. Everyone was still starting up. And so one of the first things we did was we said, OK, maybe we can also invest in some of the new upcoming projects. And so if you're in the audience and you're building a cool new project and maybe you're not ready for security yet, but you're also looking for investment, come find myself or our head of BD, Dawn, in the audience after as well. So the number of hacks that's happened in crypto, it's actually been going up as the industry has grown. So last year in 2022, there was over $3 billion stolen in cryptocurrency hacks. And the reasons for this is that there's lots of teams building innovative stuff, and so it's really easy to make mistakes. People have really tight deadlines, so they maybe raised their Series A, and they made promises to their community or to their investors that they're going to deliver something by certain dates, or by the time of a certain conference that they're going to launch something. And so sometimes it's rushed, and sometimes it's more just missing a attack vector. Even Vitalik himself, his Twitter was recently compromised, and so sort of no one is fully above this. And every year also, the sophistication of the attackers has increased. So when we first started Quantstamp, the smart contracts were really simple. We were auditing tokens or really simple games. And so the types of attacks that you could do on it were also simpler. They were easy to find. And the amount of money that was in them was also less. In the beginning, for a cool project, maybe if they had $10 million, that would be a lot of money for that project. Nowadays, there's DeFi protocols that launch, and then within a month they might have $50 million or $100 million in the protocol. So that's sort of a really big change. A little bit more about Quantstamp. So we've contributed to a lot of public goods in the blockchain space. We audited the major upgrade to Ethereum, ETH 2.0. We're currently working with the Ethereum Foundation on L2 and ZK scaling. And so we're currently, we've been working on 4 different grants for the Ethereum Foundation. And to learn more about security, we also have a monthly hacks roundup. So we try to explain in really simple terms what's going on with all these hacks. And we basically pick 5 or 7 of the hacks that happened in that month, go through each one, try to explain, okay, what happened and how you could protect yourself. Another cool thing about Quantstamp is that we have one of the only licensed insurance companies in the world for Web3. So it's called Chainproof. We started about a year and a half ago. And we're in partnership with the world's largest reinsurance company, Munich Re. So that's like a typical security assessment from Quantstamp. The really important thing is for Quantstamp, we really want to make sure every single audit that we do is the highest quality, because so many people's livelihoods and life savings depend on that. And so we've developed a very collaborative approach with the teams that we work with. And we have some of the folks on the team with the largest number of years and audit experience in the world. And so some of our team come from many of the best companies in the space. Over time, in the beginning, when I first started Quantstamp, we used to only audit Solidity smart contracts. Solidity has changed a lot over the years, and now there's so many different tech stacks. There's Rust, there's Kotlin, there's Golang for validators, there's Multico for internet computer, there's Cairo for ZK. And so as part of the journey of running the company, it's been about constantly learning all the different programming paradigms that people are coming up with, and all the ways that they're using them. And so it's kind of a continuous process. And so we always like to work with new projects that are doing something interesting. So if you're doing something interesting, find me after the talk. One thing that we've really focused on is that over the years, we've built a lot of great relationships with different VCs in the space. And we've started to basically offer the portfolio companies of VCs deals where they can get a security audit that can be relied upon. So these are some of the launch partners that are part of our Batch 1 program. If you're a VC that wants to work with a really reliable security auditor, we're currently still recruiting for Batch 2. And there's the current ecosystem. It's changed a lot after FTX and after Terra. From my experience, in Asia, I would say a lot of the projects that come to us for audits are actually still built on Ethereum or on Binance Smart Chain. Some recent ecosystems that have started to take off are Sui and Aptos. But because of our vantage point, we see a lot of the audits that come to us, and so we kind of see what's people building and what's kind of taking off, what's not taking off. So yeah. And recently, something that's been taking off a lot is L2s. I'm sure you've seen at the conference. It seems like almost everybody is building an L2. We're probably in the middle of L2 summer right now. L2s, the biggest issue with L2s is that an L2 is a really, really complicated bridge where you, on the one side of the L2, you're storing, hundreds of millions or maybe billions of dollars in assets on L1, and transacting on the L2. And so it creates actually a lot of security issues. bridge security is one of the hardest problems in the blockchain space, and as many of you know, like most bridges have been hacked at this point. So we're pioneering a lot of R&D in terms of bridge security, and we've been giving a lot of talks about that. So if you're thinking of using a bridge, or Lord forbid building your own bridge, definitely look at some of the best practices that we've developed along with other experts in the space. One of the current grants that we're working on is actually a security framework for rollup. It's still a rapidly developing space that I think needs a lot more work. So, yeah. Yeah, and for Quantstamp, we audited many of the first DeFi projects as part of DeFi Summer, starting with Compound and Curve and Yearn. And it continues to this day. So I would say a lot of the sort of big bang innovation in DeFi has already been done. Now there's a lot more incremental innovation. But for many of these L2s, they all need perpetuals and spot exchanges and options exchanges and on-chain market making. And so just from having seen so many of these projects, we've sort of gotten an idea of what are the best practices for if you're building a new perpetual protocol on Arbitrum, for example. Yeah, and lastly, for NFTs, now I think it's kind of a very severe NFT bear market, but there's a few cool companies like Illuvium and Parallel that are building some really awesome things in the NFT space. Parallel just came out with an amazing game. I highly recommend everyone to check it out and play it because it will renew your sense of optimism for the NFT and gaming space. But yeah, we've been auditing some of the largest exchanges like OpenSea and many of the largest games. And with that, I think I'm gonna just put up the QR code. And I think I have time for one question. So yeah. So that's, if you want to learn more about audits, and if you want to learn more about working at Quantstamp. We're actually recruiting someone that speaks Mandarin. So if you speak Mandarin and you want to work maybe on the technical analysis side, come to find me afterwards. Yeah. Any questions? Cool. Then if not, thank you. Appreciate it.